After a messy week of infighting, the federal coalition has slumped to its worst primary vote in Newspoll in the Australian in history. Joining me live now is former Labor Senator and Senior Counsel at Premier National, Graham Richardson. Richo, great to see you. How bad do you think things are for the coalition? You've seen a lot of these news polls, a lot of different Liberal leaders. How dire are things?
I don't think they can get much worse. This is a terrible poll. It's not just bad, it's terrible. And they can't afford to let that kind of thing develop into a pattern. Once it does, then I think they're in for a terrible hiding at the next election. So they've got to do something to arrest it. It would appear that Susan Lee can't do it. She's just not in any way making up ground. And I think they've tried Dutton, they've tried her. I don't know if they try Taylor or somebody, but they've got to try somebody else because this isn't working.
Or is this a question, Richard, of needing to give Susan Lee more time, that she's only been in the role for a number of months? A lot of voters, I reckon, would have tuned out federal politics almost entirely in the wake of that election. Should she be afforded time to fix things?
Well, I mean, if things were all fair and nice, yes, she should be afforded time. But this is politics, and there's nothing fair or nice about politics. You just have to do what's got to be done, and she's not cutting it. And if that's the case, they have to change. It's not good to change, but it's not good to stay. I mean, what do? Do you stay with a leader who's obviously not making it, not cutting it with the Australian people, or do you move to someone who's a big question mark? So there's no easy way to go for the coalition on this. I mean, they've got long-term problems. This is not just a medium-term problem. This can be a long-term problem unless it's addressed.
Yeah, it's a big existential question that the coalition's confronting, isn't it? I wanted to ask you about the front page of the Daily Telegraph today. The Prime Minister forced to vacate his Marrickville electoral office after months of what's been called an aggressive campaign by pro-Palestine activists. How disappointing is this? I saw the Prime Minister out today saying, he just thinks it's got too aggressive outside his electoral office, that essentially people are getting in the way of funeral and church services next door.
Yeah, I think it's pretty sad. I saw that headline today and I thought, well, that just sums up our modern society, and it's not a good look. And unfortunately for Anthony, that's just the way it goes. I don't think it's anything he's done that's caused this. It's just a societal problem.
Yeah, and you wonder if, when they find a new office, does the protest just move somewhere else inside his electorate? It's a difficult one for him to try and figure out. I want to ask you, Richard, though, about the big story today, the climate report released by Chris Bowen. It's ahead of that 2035 target being locked in later in the week. How does Labor make the case to voters who say they might have heard these sort of dire warnings in the past and they didn't materialise? What's the best way to prosecute this?
Well, you just have to keep going. I mean, they have heard the warnings. But you just have to keep repeating them. You've just got to keep going with it. Sometimes there's arguments that take a long, long time to get into people's head, and this is one of them. But we've just got to stick with it.
And what about the big defence announcement yesterday? $12 billion injected into that Henderson base, part of AUKUS, trying to shore up the message ahead of Anthony Albanese's trip to the United States. Is this going to make it easier to convince people like Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth that we're pulling our weight? I
think it'll help. Whether it's enough is another matter, but it'll certainly help. And we needed to do some more. I think we have been a bit slack, and I think we do need to put some more money into defence.
And what about Richard Marles? He's been asked multiple times now over the last 24 hours, well, what does this mean for our defence GDP spending ratio? The US wants that 3.5% figure. Richard Marles doesn't want to say what it is at the moment. Does that show that it's not quite at the level that, the US and others are asking for?
Yeah, I think you could put your house on the fact that it's not as high as that. I think that's something that's got to be addressed. Australia has to pull its weight. We can't just sort of sit back and say to the United States, you do it. That's not reasonable, and the United States won't cop it anyway. So we just got to lift our game.
And Richard, we're also seeing Anthony Albanese head to Papua New Guinea today. He's going to be there for a number of days. He's expected to sign a landmark defence treaty. That too plays into this argument about convincing the US that we are pulling our weight, let alone its impact on helping counter China's influence in our region too.
Yeah, look, it's something that, relations with Papua New Guinea are, I think, sometimes ignored in Australia. But Papua New Guinea is pretty important when you look at it strategically, where it's positioned. We certainly need to keep vigilant, keep alert when it comes to Papua New Guinea. The Chinese would love to move in there. They always seem to be able to find money to spend, that kind of money is very hard to match for a little place like us.
I was going to say, if we're trying to play checkbook diplomacy, it's hard for us to counter the big dollars that China can offer. But what about that draw card of the NRL team? That seems so critical here in terms of if there is any, increased Chinese influence, that could always be pulled away. How important do you think NRL diplomacy is playing as well?
Well, I think to the people up there, it's very important. My own view is if they get a team, it'll only get slaughtered and be run last for quite some time. There's only a certain number of players in the pool, it's not unlimited. You can't just keep adding new teams and thinking that the players are going to be there.
Graham Richardson, former Labor Senator, really appreciate your time today. Thank you.